We continue now at the top of Daf Kufheyam and Beis in Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 105b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara had an opinion that Bilam, he engaged in bestiality, he had relations with his donkey, and the Gemara is in the middle of bringing the proof, because by Bilam, the Pasuk uses the language of Kara Shachav, and also we find in Sefer Shoftim a similar language, Kara Nafal Shachav V'gomer, and the context of that Pasuk is talking about sexual intercourse, and so therefore over here also, we understand that it means again, he engaged in bestiality. And the Gemara continues, the Pasuk says, by Bilam v'yodea das elyon, that Bilam understood the knowledge of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara says, hashta das behemto lo havayada. He didn't even understand what his animal was thinking. Das elyon havayada. Do you think he understood the das elyon, the das of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And the Gemara says, my das behemto. What does it mean? What are we referring to by the das of his animal? The amri lay, because they said to him, my time alo rechav susya. Why is it that you're not riding on a horse? Why are you riding on a donkey? Amar Lui said to them, I put the horses out to pasture. Amrale, so the donkey said to him, Halo anochi asoncha, but aren't I your donkey? And he said, Latina bialma, that's just to carry loads, not to ride upon. But then the donkey said, Asher rachafta olai, but you did ride upon me. And he said, Akroi bialma, that was just once in a while. But meodcha adayom hazeh, the donkey said, it's not true. From then all the way until today, the entire time, you've been using me in this fashion. V'lo oda, not only that, alashani osalach maisa ishas balayla, I engage with you the way a wife engages with a husband at night. Again, talking about bestiality. And where do we see that from? Because ksiv hach, it's written over here by Bilam ha'askein hiskanti. He uses this language of ha'askein hiskanti. U'ksiv hasam, and it's written over there. This is in Sefer Melachim, talking about Avishag Hashunamis with David HaMelech. Vatilo sochenes, that has a connotation of sexual relations. And so therefore, again, this is what the donkey was saying, that we engaged in this bestiality. And the Gemara continues, well, if that's the case, what does it mean that he understood the das of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The answer is, he understood how to figure out the precise moment when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was angry. And that's what the Navi said to Klal Yisrael. This is from Sefer Micha. Ami zucharna mayotz bolak melech Moav u'ma'ano oso Bilam ben Beor min hashitim v'yad Gilgal leman das tzidkos Hashem. The pasuk finishes off by saying, with this understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. My leman das tzidkos Hashem. What does that mean? Leman das tzidkos Hashem. Amar len HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. What it means is as follows. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Klal Yisrael, De'uno, you should know, kamat tzidkos asisi machem, how many righteous acts I did with you. Shelo ka'asti kolosan hayomim b'mei Bilam harasha, that I didn't get angry all of those days during the times of Bilam harasha. Shel mole ka'asti, because had I gotten angry kolosan hayomim any amount, had I gotten angry at all during those days, lo nishtar misonen shel Yisrael sardu pala, there would be no remnant left from the enemies of Klal Yisrael. That's a euphemism. It means there'd be nothing left of Klal Yisrael. And the Gemara continues, Hainu dukamar le Bilam le Balak. That's what Bilam said to Balak. Mo ekov lo kavoel, means to say HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu isn't cursing, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not getting angry, so how am I able to curse Klal Yisrael? And the Gemara continues, the Pasuk says in Sefer Tehillim, V'kel zoem b'chol yom, it talks about the anger every day of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'kama zamo, and how long is this anger? Rega, it's just for a moment. Shenemar, as it says in the Pasuk in Tehillim, ki rega bi'apo chayim birtzono, we understand that it's just a moment, it says rega in that Pasuk. And the Gemara continues, if you want, I could say from the following Pasuk, this is a Pasuk in Yeshayo, the Pasuk says, Leich ami bo b'chadarecha, uskor deloscha ba'adecha chavich ma'at, Chimaat rega, again it uses the word rega, ad yavor zam, until the anger passes just one moment. And the Gemara continues, Eimas rasach, well, when is this anger? When does it happen during the day? When is this anger of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And the Gemara says, Betlos shoy kamais, it's in the first 3 hours, ki chivra karvelasa de tarnagola, it's at the time that the crest of the rooster is white. The Gemara says, Kol shaita v'shaita nami chivra, it's white all the time. What do you mean at the time that it's white? And the Gemara says, Kol shaita v'shaita isbe suriki, suriki sumke, all the time it has a red streak as well. But ahi shaita, but at that moment, less bay, suriki sumke, it doesn't have that red streak. And the Gemara continues, Ahumina, there was a certain heretic, to have a b'shivavusei de Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. He lived in the neighborhood of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, to have a komitzar lei, that he would always annoy Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Yom achad, one day, nakat tarnagosa, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, he took a rooster, v'yasar lei bekare, he tied its legs, v'osav, and he sat there and waited. And Amar, and he said to himself, Kimota hu shaita, when that moment comes when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is angry, iltiye, so then I'll curse him, I'll curse this particular min, I'll curse this particular heretic. Kimota Hushaita, when that time came, Nimnam, he ended up dozing off. And so Amar, he said, it's a sign, Shema Mino, we see from this Lava or Achara, that it's not proper, it's not the proper way to curse, even if it's a heretic. Techsiv, as it's written in the Pasuk in Mishlei, Gam Anosh Tzaddik Lo Tov, to punish for the Tzaddik is not good. Afilu B'mine Lo Iboyle L'Meimer Hachi, even when it comes to a heretic, it's not appropriate to say this. And the Gemara continues, Tana Mishmei Rabbi Meir was taught in the name of Rabbi Meir, B'shasha Acham Azorachas, at the time that the sun is rising, V'hamalachim Manichin Kisreyan Al Rosheyan, and the kings put their crowns on their heads, U'mishtachavim L'cham, and they bow to the sun, Miyad Koes, immediately, HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes angry. And the Gemara continues, the Pasuk says, by Bilam Vayakom, Bilam Baboker, Bilam got up in the morning, Vayachavosh Asasono, and he saddled his donkey. And the Gemara says, Tana Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar was taught in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Ahava Mevatela Shura Shel Gedula, love, it nullifies the normal order of prominence. Somebody who's respectable will do something that they normally would not do out of love. And where do we learn that? May Avram, we learn that from Avram. Techsiv, because it's written, Vayashkem Avram Baboker, it says that Avram got up in the morning, this is by the Akedah, that was done out of love. He did something he normally would not do by saddling his donkey. And likewise, Sinna Mevatelas Shura Shel Gedula. Also, hatred can nullify the normal order of prominence. Mi Bilam, we learned that out from Bilam. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk we just brought, Vayakam Bilam Baboker Vayachavosh Asasono. Bilam got up in the morning and he saddled his donkey. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Liolam Yasok Adam B'Torah v'Mitzvah Afilo Shelo Lishma. A person should learn Torah and do mitzvahs even not for their sake. Shemitoch Shelo Lishma, even if he does it because he does it Shelo Lishma, Bo Lishma, eventually he's going to do it Lishma, he'll do it for its own sake. And where do we see this from? Shebischar arboim mushtayim karbonos shehikriv bolak, as a reward of the 42 sacrifices that Bolak brought, even though the idea is it wasn't done lishma, zacha v'yatzam imenu rus, he merited that rus came out from him. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Huna. Rabbi Yossi Bar Huna says, Rus bito shel Eglon. Rus was the daughter of Eglon, ben beno shel Bolak melech Moav Haisa, who was the son of Bolak, the king of Moab. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Rava l'Rava Bar Mori. Rava said to Rava Bar Mori, Ksiv, it's written, Yetev Elokim es Shem Shlomo mishemecha v'yigdal es kiso mikisecha. It says that the name of Shlomo should be greater than your name, meaning greater than the name of David HaMelech. His throne should be greater than the throne of David HaMelech. And the Gemara says, Orach aro l'meim relay l'malka hachi, is it proper derech eretz to speak this way to a king, that you should say to David HaMelech that your son Shlomo should be greater than you? And the Gemara continues, Amar le, he said back to him, Me'ein ka'amrele, what they just meant was, it should be similar, his throne should be similar to yours. And the Gemara says, Di lote mahachi, because if you don't say that, how are you going to understand the pasuk in Sefer Shoftim? The pasuk in Sefer Shoftim says, Tvorach minoshim yoel eshes chever hakeni, minoshim ba'oel tvorach. It says that Yael should be greater, more blessed than those women in the Ohel. What is this noshim ba'oel? Noshim ba'oel maninu, who's the reference in the pasuk to the noshim ba'oel? It's a reference to Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, V'Leah. It's a reference to Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. And again, seemingly the pasuk is saying that Yael should be greater. Orech ara l'meimer hachi is the proper derech eretz to say that. Ela me'ein kama, rather again it means me'ein, it means to say that it should be similar, she should be similar. Hachanami me'ein, here also we mean to say that Shlomo's kingship should be me'ein, the kingship of David HaMelech. Hachanami me'ein kama, here also it is saying me'ein, it is saying it should be similar. And the Gemara continues, Upliga de Rabbi Yossi Bar Choni, in this approach, it argues with the approach of Rabbi Yossi Bar Choni. The Amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Choni, because Rabbi Yossi Bar Choni says, B'chol Adam Miskane, a person is jealous of all people, Chutz mi beno v'talmido, except for his own son or his own student. He's not jealous of his son or his student. And beno, where do we know that a person is not jealous of his son? Mishlomo, from Shlomo HaMelech, exactly what we just brought. V'talmido, and where do we know this idea by a student? Iba is saying, if you want, I could say, V'hina pishnayim beruchacha Eloi, talking about Elisha and Eliyahu Hanavi, talking about the fact that Elisha would have double the spirit. V'Iba is saying, if you want, I could say from the following, by Moshe and Yehoshua, V'yismoch es yodav olav yitzaveh, he put both of his hands upon him, again showing that he was not jealous. He wanted Yehoshua. If Yehoshua could be even greater than Moshe Rabbeinu, that would have pleased Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Gemara continues, the pasuk says by Bilam, Vayasem davar b'fi Bilam, that words were placed in the mouth of Bilam different than what he wanted to say. He wanted to curse Klal Yisrael. Instead, he blessed them. And the Gemara darshans the pasuk. Rabbi Elazar says, Malach, this was an angel that placed these words in the mouth of Bilam. Rabbi Yonasan Amar Chika, Rabbi Yonasan says it was a hook. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Mi berchaso shel oso rasha, from the blessings of that rasha, of that wicked person Bilam, atalamed mahaya belivo, you can learn what was in his heart. Bikesh Lomer, he wanted to say, Shelo yuhu lahem batei chnasios uvate midrashos, so that they shouldn't have synagogues and batei medrash, but instead he said, Matovo alecha Yaakov, how good are your tents, Yaakov. Lo tishra shchina aleim, he wanted to say that the shchina should not rest upon them. Instead he said, Mishkanosecha Yisrael, your dwellings Yisrael. Lo tei malchusan Meseches, their kingship should not continue. Instead he said, Kinecholim nitayu, it's going to be like the winding brooks. Lo yehei lahem zeisim uchramim, they shouldn't have olives, olive trees and vineyards, and instead he said again, Keginos ale nahar, like the gardens along the river. Lo yehi recha nodaf, their smell should not diffuse. It means to say, in terms of mitzvahs, but again, ka'aholim not to Hashem, like the aholim that Hashem planted. Lo yiyu lahem melachim ba'alei koma, he said they shouldn't have strong kings, ka'arozim ale moyim, and instead he said like cedars that are upon the waters. Lo yeh lahem melech ben melech, they shouldn't have a king, the son of a king, yizal ma'im midolyo, flowing like water. Lo tehei malchusan sholetes be'umos, their kingship, they shouldn't rule over other nations. V'zaro b'mayim rabim, but then it says among many waters. Lo tehei azam malchusan, there shouldn't be strength in their kingship. V'yorom me'agag malko, then it says lifted over the kingship of Agag. Lo tehei emas malchusan, there shouldn't be a fear from their kingdom. V'tinase malchuso, he said instead again that their kingdom should be lifted up. And Rashi explains, Malach, an angel, Shemasaru HaKadosh Baruch Hu LaMalach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Bilam over to a Malach, Shelo Yanichenu L'Kala, not allowing him to curse. Chika, a hook, Nasan B'fi Bilam, was placed in the mouth of Bilam. Shelo Haya Manicha L'Kala, V'hainu V'ayosem, it wouldn't allow him to curse. That's what the pasuk means. Mibir Chosav Atalav Mahaya Belibo, from his blessings we understand what was in his heart. Chsiv, because it's written, V'yafo Hashem Elokecha L'Chas HaKlala, Livracha, the curse was turned to a blessing. Hu Haya Rotza L'Kala Lam B'kach, Shelo Yu so he wanted to curse them, for example, again, that there wouldn't be synagogues, and permission was not given to him. And instead he said, Matovo alecha, how good are your tents. Recho nodef, the smell diffused me mitzvos for mitzvos. He was trying to curse them in that manner. V'yoro me'agag malko, be lifted up above Agog, mitargamin and v'siskaf me'agog, stronger than Agog, shetei malchuso azam, meaning to say, a strong kingdom. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Yava bar Kahana says, Kulam chazru leklala, all of these things, eventually, these curses did happen to Klal Yisrael, chutz mi batei chnasios u mi batei midrashos, except for the destruction of the synagogues and the batei medrash, that actually did not happen. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Vayafo Hashem elokecha l'chas haklala levrach, it says the curse was changed to a blessing, ki ahivcha Hashem elokecha, because Hashem loved you, and that said klala v'lo klalos, it said it's singular, just one of the curses was changed to a bracha. It doesn't say that in plural, and so therefore we understand just one of them ended up being for a blessing. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rav Yonasan, Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani says, that Rav Yonasan says, Ma'ai dechsiv, what does it mean when it's written in the pasuk? This is a pasuk in Sefer Mishlei, Ne'monim pitzei oev, it says that the wounds of somebody who is a friend, so those are good, those are ne'monim. However, in contrast, v'netaros neshiko sona, even the kisses of an enemy, those are going to be bad. And the Gemara explains, Tova klala shekil al Achia Hashiloni as Yisrael, the curse that Achia Hashiloni cursed Klal Yisrael was better, Yosim ribracha shebircham Bilam harash, it was better than the blessing that Bilam gave them. And the Gemara explains, Achia Hashiloni kilales Yisrael bekona, Achia Hashiloni, he cursed Klal Yisrael with a reed. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, V'hiko Hashem es Yisrael, this is a pasuk in Sefer Malachim, Hashem will strike Klal Yisrael kasher yonan hakone b'mayim, and the pasuk compares it to a reed. But we understand as follows, Makone zeh, just like this reed, omed b'mako mayim, it stands in a place of water, v'gizo, and its stem, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Vav Amud Aleph.